I see no lights. Moving down to resolutions, Madam Clerk, if you would read 7A, please.
A resolution authorizing amendment to resolution number 30612 to increase the amount of grant funds to be passed through to the American Battlefield Trust by $66,320 for a total grant amount of $1,910,220.
Council, I did add this by permission simply because we had earlier, last year, approved for this pass-through and more money came available. And this just increases the amount of the pass-through. But certainly happy to take questions or comments. All right, seeing none, 7B, please.
A resolution considering short-term vacation rental application number 21 STVR 224 for property located at 2765 Tanglewood Road, Unit B.
All right, go ahead and read C as well. They go together.
A resolution considering short-term vacation rental application number 21 STVR 225 for property located at 2765 Tanglewood Road, Unit A.
You good for now, Councilwoman Hill? All right, D, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a lease agreement with OBC Properties Delaware LLC in substantially the form attached for approximately 22,613 square feet of office space located at 5715 Upton Road, further identified as portion of tax parcel number 157MA011 for a term of 5 years with the option to renew for 2 additional terms of 2 years each, with year 1 annual rent of $429,647, with future rent payments subject to the annual appropriation of funds.
All right, and that is the revised agreement. See no questions or comments. E, please.
A resolution authorizing the Chattanooga Fire Department to accept a donation of 5,012-ounce bags of Toshiba coffee with a value of $10 per bag for a total donation of approximately $50,000.
Councilman Ledford.
Chief, I have to ask. Some details about this one, the coffee. I mean, if nobody, I have to ask. This is a little unusual.
Well, it was unusual for us as well, because we usually don't get $50,000 worth of coffee.
No.
Chibo Coffee is just a new company and was willing to donate coffee to the fire department. So I don't know how we got on their radar, but we like coffee and we'll be happy to share.
So are you happy?
So
Okay.
so
You
can
gonna
we
share
come?
with the police department too?
Of course.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure. And-
So we can stop by in the mornings at our local fire halls and pick up a cup of coffee.
And get caffeinated. Yes.
Get caffeinated.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Good deal.
All righty.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Chief.
7F, please.
A resolution authorizing the Chief Information Officer to enter into a one-time purchase agreement with DLT Solutions, Inc. for the purchase of Autodesk license and support products effective January 19, 2022 through January 18, 2023, servicing the Department of Public Works, Transportation, Regional Planning, Smart Cities, and the Fire Marshal's Office for an amount not to exceed $55,000.
All right. Not seeing any lights. G, please.
A resolution authorizing the Office of the City Attorney to enter into an agreement with Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services, Inc. for insurance, brokerage services, property, equipment, and fleet insurance, cyber, fine art insurance, athletic liability, commercial auto, out-of-state auto, public official bonds, Head Start auto, etc., for 4 years for an estimated $1 million per year.
All right. And Councilman Hester, I believe we covered under Public Works and Transportation, all the items listed H through M as well, correct? Any questions concerning any item H through M? There's no reason to read all of these into the minutes at this time since they were covered during our Parks and Public Works Committee. All right. Council, any questions or comments concerning any of our purchase items tonight? And just to clarify, we do have 2 pages, which totals 7 items. Any questions or comments? All right. If you'd look at your January 11th, what we refer to as our 2-week agenda, any items that need to be brought to our attention at this time? Councilwoman Hill.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to draw the body's attention to item L under Parks and Public Works on page 8. It is an ordinance to amend our city code pertaining to recyclables. Donald and I have talked about this some, but there's some language that I wonder if it's clear enough, or if perhaps I just am overthinking it. Donald, would you fill everybody in on what has changed with this ordinance and talk us through the eligible curbside recyclable materials, please?
Yes, thank you. This particular adjustment to the ordinance is something we learned as we had a visit with West Rock, that they would not like to have plastic bags in the curbside container. So that's number one. So we put in there that that's not acceptable. But then also in our garbage ordinance, it says that you cannot take the garbage cart to another location. That was not on the recycling side. So we added that to the recycling side. So that's, for the most part, that's pretty much it. Now, to your question from earlier, the illustrations of the material that's accepted and not accepted is actually on the website, not in the ordinance.
Okay, so for the body, just if you don't have it in front of you or haven't printed it, there's been some conversation about what number of plastic can go in and things like that. Eligible curbside recyclable materials include all clean aluminum cans, cardboard, paper products, plastic stamps 1 through 7, tin cans, and food packaging. And the food packaging was the one that I wondered if we needed to offer any clarification. And Donald said it's on the website. And I wonder about adding the word eligible food packaging. I mean, I keep going through my head of all the different things that count as food packaging, like styrofoam containers or waxed board and things that I thought you weren't supposed to recycle. So I'd love y'all's opinion on, am I overthinking this food packaging language? Do we need any clarification or not? Do you know what food packaging is, and do you think it would all be recyclable? I will yield my time.
Well, Councilwoman, I'm not seeing any lights, so I don't know if we are all confused on a higher level or we just don't care. I'm just saying.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that comment. Okay. Any other questions concerning our 2-week agenda? All right. Future considerations. Anything on our future considerations that you'd like to bring up at this time? All right. I'm not seeing any lights. That should cover all of our agenda items. We do have a planning and zoning committee here just in a few minutes, but I will ask if there's anything else that needs to be brought before the council at this time. If not, hey, Chief, I understand you have somebody new in your department to sort of keep you in line. Is that correct?
It's a big task. Yes, absolutely.
It is a big task. Who would that person be?
So Brooke Satterfield is going to be joining my team as Deputy Chief of Staff. So I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a chance to acknowledge and congratulate her, or give her condolences on having to deal with me even more than she already was.
Well, congratulations or condolences, Brooke. I'm sure there's days that you'll probably regret applying for that position. Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious for public record if this decision was of your own free will or were you maybe twisted into this?
I don't know Morse code is but I'll blink
He's not looking at you, Brooke. Go ahead, tell us. I know the answer if I ask. Chief. There's a good deputy for you, Chief.
You're
All right.
starting
That's
off really
fair.
well.
Starting off very good. Pass the test. Thank you, sir.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations, Brooke. I think you're very deserving of the position. I've watched you the whole time that you worked up under the Burke administration and you grinded. Like you kept your head down and you just got the work done. And in my opinion, like you were unnoticed. Like nobody really paid any attention to you under that administration. So I'm glad that Joda, whoever, recognized the skills that you have and what you have to offer to the team. I'm excited for you to see you, move from where you started at to elevate to where you are now. And I'm sure you're going to continue to elevate even further. So congratulations. And I'm looking forward to continue to work with you on council.
All right. Congratulations, Brooke. All right. I'm not seeing any other lights. So at this time, I will yield the chair to Councilman Ledford for Planning and Zoning.
Yeah. Only we could work for planning and zoning, I know.
Very excited.
Good afternoon, everyone. What a great way to start off the new year, planning and zoning. Karen, how are you?
Hello.
Did you have a good holiday?
Pardon?
Good holiday?
Had a great holiday. Yes, thank you.
Great. Great. Well, we are all excited to get back to council and back to doing the people's business. And I will start by opening the Planning and Zoning Committee for today, Tuesday, January 4th. If I can get a motion for the minutes, please. All right. With that being said, the minutes will stand. Karen, we're going to start with ordinances. We have a ordinance on final reading under planning item A in District 3. Vice Chair, can you give us a update on that?
We're good, sir. On final read.
Okay, good. And I'm going to ask the same question for Councilwoman Coonrod. We're good tonight? Okay, I know that we've had some things we needed to cover in there. So thank you very much. Ordinances under first reading. Karen, I noticed you did an overview for us, and I appreciate that. It helps us to kind of look ahead real quick and see what is ahead of us. So would we go ahead and move on to planning item A under our first readings for next week?
Okay. This is a little bit, this month's agenda is a little simpler than last month's. Again, if there is no opposition, I'll just kind of cover the highlights. We do have two with opposition. There was President Planning Commission this past month, and those I'll spend a little bit more time on details. First case is case 234 on Highway 58. It's just north of Grubb Road in the Walmart complex on Highway 153. A rezoning from R1 to C2. The property does front on Highway 153. Proposed use is a commercial retail use. Both staff and Planning Commission found the request is compatible with the plan, development form, and adjacent land uses of the area. As mentioned, there was no opposition. The staff recommended to deny, staff and Planning Commission recommended to deny the applicant's request and approve C2 for just a portion of the site. And that's similar to the zoning pattern along Highway 153. As you'll note, the 153 is running north-south. The properties that front on 153 are those that are zoned higher than the residential, but they don't go all the way back towards the properties on either side of 153. So staff and Planning Commission just recommended rezoning the portion that fronts on 153 so it doesn't go back into the residential area, and the applicant was fine with that at Planning Commission.
Very good. I am seeing no lights. Chairman, we're good? Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Karen. Moving on to item B, please.
Okay. This is a 6400 block of Hickson Pike. This is just north of Big Ridge Road. The applicant wanted to lift and amend a condition of a prior ordinance from the rezoning to RT1 in 2006. The proposed use is townhomes. Staff and Planning Commission found that the request is reasonable. The site was rezoned with two conditions. I'm going to read both of them. One is leaving the back portion as an undisturbed community lot, is shown on the site plan at that time. And two, no building within 50 feet of the northern property line and leaving any existing vegetation along the same lot line. So the applicant had offered an alternative, some alternative conditions, but staff and planning commission just recommended lifting the building setback condition. The RT1 zone has a 25-foot setback buffer and zoning. The landscape conditions will kick in. So staff just recommended lifting the condition, and both staff and planning commission supported maintaining the condition, leaving the back portion of the property as an undisturbed community lot, as this limits the area of disturbance as it climbs up Big Ridge. So this is coming with a recommendation to lift the condition 2, and that is no building within 50 feet of the northern property line and leaving any existing vegetation along the same lot line. And there was no opposition at Planning Commission.
Very good. I remember this case the first time, and that back section was a very integral part of it. Vice Chairman, you good? I'm good. All right, thank you. Karen, item C, please.
This is 6923 Greenway Drive. This is west of Concord Road in East Brainerd. The applicant would like to convert a duplex into a triplex with rezoning from R2 to R3. Staff and Planning Commission found the request is compatible with the plan development form and adjacent land uses. The request is also an extension of an existing zone. Both come with a recommendation to approve no more than 3 dwelling units. The intention of that condition is to help ensure compatibility with the plan and also just the adjacent residential uses in the area.
Very good. This is in District 4, and I did see this at Planning Commission, agree with the conditions and made the motion to approve. So I'm seeing no lights on that item. Item D, please.
This property is at Wilcox Drive and Patterson Road. Wilcox Drive is a small, short, dead-end street in East Brainerd. The request is to rezone from R1 to the RTZ Residential Townhouse Zero Lot Line Zone. The applicant was proposing 7 new homes. There are 2 existing, so the rezoning includes the area of the 2 existing homes and the new homes. Staff and Planning Commission found the request is compatible with the plan, with conditions and development form and adjacent land uses. And since it's had opposition, I'll go through it a little bit more. Apologize, I missed that. So it's primarily R1, which is shown as that light yellow on the map. There is a smaller RT development to the west, but that was put in place prior to the plan being adopted. The development with the 9 units has a density of 7.3 dwelling units an acre. So again, a lot of single family in the area with some pockets of a little bit higher density development scattered throughout Patterson and Givens Road. So this is the site. Givens Road was a source of much discussion at Planning Commission with both the applicant and planning commissioners. So just wanted to give you some pictures. And this is the other side, Wilcox Drive. And this is Wilcox Drive looking towards Patterson Road.
Okay, so this is in District 4 and stone's throw from where I live. So I did take a look at this and I made some comments at Planning Commission. I will lead off the conversation real quickly, Karen, to say that I'm going to be looking for a deferral on this because I'm not comfortable. There was opposition, and the opposition was, I feel, very warranted in their concerns, and it needs to be addressed. And I made those comments at Planning Commission. I would like to know, I think, Ben, were you able to take a look at that and give me any comments? And this is a little unorthodox. Usually I would appreciate this kind of input from CDOT before or at Planning Commission, but that didn't happen, and we have the holidays that fell in between. So I did reach out, and I'd like to hear what Ben has to say about it.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Yes, Wilcox Drive is only a 15-foot right-of-way, So there's no way to provide what we consider a two-way street for this development. It's a little bit odd in the fact that the rezoning can happen and they could meet this requirement by changing the lot lines in the future. So that's why there wasn't a hard no on it. But under the current conditions, that this is definitely something the transportation does not feel is an appropriate upzoning for the size of a right of way.
Okay, so, and I appreciate that. And I also did reach out to our local fire department, Station 21, and they sent some folks out. And I believe the fire marshal did approve or say it was okay if the houses had sprinklers and all, but the fire department per se, if I've got this chief, can you just nod your head at this point? They had some concerns about that many and getting in and out. So what it's going to come down, and I know this is a permitting level question, but because I know about it, I feel it's my responsibility to bring it up now. So Karen, I would like for you to let the applicant know that those same concerns I had at Planning Commission are still valid, and that I would like for them to contact CDOT and try to figure out what might be the solution, and if that's available with a condition. And it may be in the road widening, I'm assuming, but I do have some concerns, and I think that the opposition had very valid reasons for showing up, and I concur with them. So I will be asking for a deferral because I do not think this will be worked out
I will contact the applicant.
within a week. Thank you very much. And I am seeing no lights on that. Thank you for your patience on that item. Item E, please.
6E is a rezoning from the Airport Authority, Chattanooga Airport Authority, to rezone two large airport parcels to the M1 manufacturing zone. The proposed use is just to get all their property under one zoning designation. Staff and Planning Commission found the request was compatible with the comprehensive plan development form and adjacent land uses of the area. There was no opposition, and staff and Planning Commission recommended approval. And I'll just note that there is Chattanooga City Code Chapter 8 also addresses how development on an airport and airport zoning and its relationship works. So it does modify and exempt some airport property from some zoning ordinance requirements, to just let you know that we've got the M1 zone proposed here, but there's also under Chapter 38, but there's also Chapter 8 out there that addresses what can be done under zoning for the airport. It's just not an usual one, so I thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah. Good point. I'm not seeing a light. Councilman Hester, are you good? All right. Very good. Thank you very much. All right, Karen, moving on to item F, please.
Okay, this is 3106 East 10th Avenue, rezoning from an M1 to an R1. The applicant requested a rezoning so he can pull a permit to add an addition to an existing home. Residences are not allowed in the M1 zone, so the rezoning to R1 is occurring for that reason. Staff and Planning Commission found the request is compatible with the plan surrounding land uses and development form, and approved of the rezoning, recommend approval of rezoning to R1.
Councilwoman Dotley, you've got an M1 to R1 and an R1 to M1. That's a little uncommon, but are you okay on that item? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Karen. Item G, please.
This is at 5209 Wilson Road. It's in Alton Park, just north of the state line. The request is to rezone to M1 for a vehicle salvage yard, and it's actually an extension of existing use. That existing use is a vehicle salvage yard, and I believe this is actually an operation as a non-conforming use. Staff and Planning Commission both found it's compatible with the plan, development form, and adjacent land uses. There was no opposition, and Staff and Planning Commission recommended approval.
Very good. Councilwoman Dotley, good. And that you said that zoning does bring them into compliance?
It does, yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Item H, please.
This is Dodds Avenue. We're rezoning to the C2 zone for a commercial retail use. Staff found that the use is compatible. Staff and Planning Commission found the use is compatible with the plan, development form, and land uses. There was no opposition, but because there is residential zoning just to the east of the site, to negate the impacts of the C2 zone, staff and Planning Commission are recommending the uses use restrictions listed there and no outdoor amplification.
Councilwoman Dotley, I'm going to look to your guidance. You'd like to add conditions to this? Would you mind giving those to Karen now? Would that be okay? But we can always add those to first reading.
I'm sure it's the one she has listed, no ordinance establishments, drive-throughs, billboards, wholesaling with accessory, warehousing, mini house storage, travel trailer camps, or outdoor storage.
Okay.
No outdoor application.
So you're good with the conditions as is?
As is.
Okay, my apologies. I misunderstood you through the glass. Okay, Karen, thank you.
Okay.
Mhm. Item I, please.
This is the second case on your agenda for next week that had opposition. So I'm going to go through this in a little bit more detail. This is a rezoning. The request was a rezoning to the R4 special zone from R1. The property is just north of the Macaulay Tunnels and Macaulay School on Oak Street. The R1 zoning on the south side of Oak Street, there is an R3 multifamily zoning across Oak Street from the site. Get caught up on my notes here. So staff found that the request is compatible with the Area 3 plan secondary uses. The Area 3 plan has a whole list of secondary use criteria. It's things like, is it on a quarter? Is it on a corner? What is the surrounding zoning? So that's all in the staff report. I'm not going to go into detail on that, but there is kind of a list that we worked through. We did found it was compatible with those secondary uses. It's compatible with adjacent land uses and development form. Staff recommended denying the R4 zone and recommending approving the O1 office zone because it is more restrictive. And just because the office use is a secondary use of the plan and not a primary use of the plan. So staff recommendation, deny the R4, approve O1. Again, that helps limit the uses, retain existing structure, and limit building height to 2.5 stories or 35 feet. No dumpster services for trash pickup, and limiting it to one monument sign with a lot of details there just to help. That's to help with enforcement to give enough detail. So there was quite a bit of opposition present at Planning Commission, concerns about protecting the historic single-family residential neighborhood, concerns about office encroachment or other non-single-family uses of the property. So Planning Commission found is similar to staff that it's compatible with the plan, development form, and adjacent land uses, and recommended the same, which was to deny the R4 special zone and approve the O1. And I will note that the use is currently in use as as a telemedicine and single family home, and the applicant's rezoning to conform to the current use of the property. So the intention is to maintain that medical office use and the residential use on the property, and both of those are allowed in the O1 zone.
Very good. Councilwoman Coonrod, I remember this case very specifically. Have you had anything you'd like to add?
So the property owners, the neighborhood association, and Miss Karen and I, we're kind of working through this one in particular. Hopefully we'll come up with some kind of resolution that's workable for everybody next week. So right now we're still dealing with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're still working on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. And I do remember this one specifically. There is a business that's operating in the home where they actually live. So home business. But this would bring them into compliance.
Right.
And then I think the conditions might be the key in working out the solution. I appreciate your leadership on that. And let me know if I can help you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Item J, please.
So 2217 Bailey Avenue, to request rezone from R2 to UGC Urban General Commercial Unit for a 5-unit townhome. Both staff and Planning Commission found the request is compatible with the plan, development form, and adjacent land uses. The plan recommends a wide range of housing options, including attached townhomes, buildings built close to the street, parking to the rear, and alley access. The UGC zone does allow that building form, but because it allows those non-residential uses, Staff is, and Planning Commission are recommending conditions. There was no opposition, so this comes with a Planning Commission recommendation to approve with just the residential uses only to support the plan, no more than 5 units and maximum building height of 3 stories.
Very good. Councilwoman Coonrod? You're excited. I like that. There's a lot going on in 8, 9, and 7. The rest of us need to catch up, I guess. All right. Thank you, Karen. Let's go to our text amendment, item K.
Okay, I'll give a brief overview and then go into the details. We are trying not to do process too many ordinance amendments or propose too many at this time. This one is for the RTZ zone, and it came up, and because we have a lot of development in our urban area, we've been using the urban general commercial zone with a lot of conditions, or in the RTZ zone. So we, when looking at why we were not getting the RTZ zone used as much, one of the applicants mentioned the setbacks. So taking a look at that, we decided that was a valid point, and because we do want the zone used, it doesn't allow a development form that we want to see and helps implement our plans and policies. We're recommending a RTZ amendment that outside the urban overlay, so again, that urban overlay is kind of the river to ridge area. Everything else is outside of it. Has single-family detached side setback 5 feet. That's pretty standard in the R1 zone. It's now 5 feet. So this is just to bring it into conformity with that single-family detached development form. It was 10 feet. And then townhouse units, this is a little clarification that if your townhouse unit, when they abut each other, that's a 0-foot setback. So this is more to help on the permitting side of it, just for clarification. That is how it's been processed or how it's been used. But just while we had it, we took the opportunity to clarify that. So within the urban overlay, which is really where probably we're seeing more use of the zone right now, we had made some changes a year or two back to the RTZ zone and had missed apparently some need to address some of the other items to bring it up to address some of the other changes. One of them is multi-units. There wasn't a front side setback, so this is just cleaning up to show that it does have a front side setback. Within the urban overlay also, single-family detached unit 5 feet. I would say this is probably really the heart of this amendment. It was 10 feet, but you can do 5 feet in R1 zone. So really makes sense to be able to do 5 feet side yard setback in the RTZ. I know there's a lot going on in the second one. Townhouse units, I think really the focus is it was 25 feet when you abut all these other things. When it's just a 6-foot setback. Basically, if you have a townhouse unit, it's a 6-foot setback. It doesn't make sense to be 25 feet from all these other zones. That's to clean that up a little bit. And then again, addressing the multifamily units that we had missed before when we amended the ordinance, and townhouse units with that 0-foot side setback. So again, I would say the heart of this is really the side single-family detached homes going from a 10-foot side setback to a 5-foot side setback. And that really does allow, particularly in the urban area, that urban form we'd like to see. And then lastly,
Hang on, Karen.
leading the site plan requirements in the RTZ. We require a site plan. I'm going to head off, Councilman Henderson. We do require, when you apply for rezoning, unless it's an R1 zone, we do require a site plan. That was something that went into place probably about 10 years ago. The RTZ zone had required a site plan when it went in originally, so it's been in there a long time. It requires some stuff slightly different from what we require from everything else. So it's a little bit harder for staff to remember to go back and check the ordinance for those differences. So we're recommending just deleting that. Anyone that applies for an RTZ zone would still be required to provide a site plan under our normal site plan policy. So that's why that's on there. Not that there won't be a site plan, it's just going to conform to the rest of them. So it makes it a little bit easier for applicants to know what they have to do.
Thanks for clarifying that. I see Darren Ledford has his light on over there. And but before I call on him, that was a red flag to me, because knowing the conversation we've had on this council about site plans, I wanted to make sure you weren't eliminating that, but we do have that in the application process.
That's
It is
correct.
required. It is still tied to the ordinance when it comes through planning commission and to council.
We provide it as part of information unless council chooses to attach the site plan somehow to the ordinance. It makes it very difficult for the applicant and the permitting process to do that. So we do not encourage that. But it is there for information and to also when you reference the conditions, it's nice to have the site plan there to be able to just kind of convey what's going on.
So is that, and I'm not sure I followed that 100%. Is it tied to the ordinance?
It is provided with the ordinance for information, is not tied to the ordinance.
Okay.
It is not, when you get rezoned, the site plan, unless council says condition to the site plan only, it is not conditioned to the site
Now, is that
plan.
done because of the trigger for a major modification or minor modifications
It is,
consideration?
we want enough detail to be able to convey to the public and to decision makers, this is what is happening. If it's conditioned to that much detail when they're at the zoning phase, where they might not even own the property yet, they might just, they're just at the beginning. It's too difficult for applicants to be tied to a site plan at this point in the development process. So we normally, and council normally does not tie the rezoning ordinance to a site plan. PUDs, yes, we mentioned the major modifications, they do. But for a normal rezoning, site plans are provided for informational purposes, and some of those elements are codified in the ordinance through conditions.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call on Chairman Henderson because I'm thinking there might be some conversation on that item.
Yeah, well, that wasn't my original question, but it is now.
You're welcome.
Karen, I'm a little confused about whether we can attach a site plan to an ordinance or not with RTZ.
So if we take this out.
Are you a lawyer?
No.
Well, that was a yes or no question.
You can. Council can
Okay.
attach a site plan. Council normally does not attach a site plan. It is provided with the materials as the staff recommendation is provided, or maybe even the planning commission resolution is provided. It is provided for informational purposes only unless, now we'll defer to the attorney, unless the council chooses to reference it as part of a condition in the ordinance.
So I've had a couple of cases that I have conditioned the rezone to the site plan. I just want to make sure that we can still do that with this, what you are proposing.
You will still have a site plan with the rezoning application, and if you choose to condition it to the site plan,
Yes.
then you would still have a site plan to do that, yes.
Okay. Because that does become very critical in a lot of the rezonings that I have anyway. Can you go back to the slide that points to the R1 setbacks?
And this is the RTZ we have.
Yeah, here we go.
Mhm.
So single family detached, the new R1 specifically references a new street. In other words, you've constructed a new street to go to the 5-foot setbacks. Does this follow that same line of thought, or does this permit it anywhere?
So the most recent change I think we made was to allow lots of record to have the 5-foot setback. We had that process that recently. So lots of records, you can have a 5-foot setback.
That's
This
correct.
allows a 5-foot setback. And I know you're talking about the recent change, and the answer is I don't know specifically. I'd have to look this up. But generally, this brings it into conformity with R1 or single family detached setbacks across the city. But I would need to pull, I know the
But I
change
don't
you're
think
talking
that-
about, but
I
I'd
don't
have to
think that
check
5
it.
foot applies to existing residential areas. I mean, this has to be new, a newly constructed road gets a 5-foot setback.
Yeah. I know the language you're talking about. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I'd have to come back to that.
So I have a little bit of a problem with this kind of as it stands right now, being a 5-foot setback that could apply anywhere.
And this is just for
In the urban-
RTZ zone property.
No, I get that.
Okay.
I get that. But I'm talking about stacking an RTZ zone, you know, and I'm just trying to, I know this is going to come back and bite us, but because it doesn't have the same language as our current R1 5-foot setback has.
I will pull the lot of record, the current R1 language, the new street and existing and this, and I'll compare them. So next time I come back, I'll kind of show those as a quick comparison in a table.
Okay.
Yes.
And Karen, we can talk about the urban overlay component to this.
Yes. So the urban overlay does have, you're talking about just the additional standards the urban overlay has, or the additional flexibility, like the urban infill lot compatibility option, or, so we do have, the urban infill within the urban overlay. It's intended to allow that more denser form. So
Yeah,
there are other options you can take advantage
And I
of.
don't have a
And a
problem
lot
with
of
that.
those would mirror that, but I will mention that too in kind of the table. I just on the fly, I'm not sure exactly how to answer that question.
Okay.
Councilman, Chairman, if it's okay, I'd like to, if you can work on that offline
Mhm.
with the chairman and copy me, I'd like to make sure we're on board and satisfy the chairman's concerns.
I'll provide that tomorrow.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Maybe we can clarify that before first reading next week. Thank you, Chairman, for bringing that very detailed analysis. We have I'm sorry, Dr. Burrs, your light snuck in there on me.
Yeah. Karen, just to follow through on conditioning the site plan. I don't know how we can do that without holding people to the details. I know the problem is we have a history here of bait and switch where we approve a land use and then somebody does something different. And over again, we hear distrust, and it's rightfully earned, unfortunately, from the public who just don't trust that if we approve a whatever, that's what's really going to be there. And I think that's valid. And I would like for us to be thinking about site plans, what you're going to build there. I don't care how deep a trench is. That's not what people are concerned about. If we have community meetings and developers put pictures up and this is what it's going to look like and this is what it's going to be here, and they work with the community, our law right now states that's all well and good. It's instructive only, but it's not conditioned. That's not okay. So I would like to figure out how we can condition site plans. Yes, this is what we talked about. This is what's going to be built without, if somebody needs to move a road 5 feet or that's our issue. But the public needs to be able to trust us. Needs to be able to trust government. And we've seen over and over again here that trust isn't really high. So if we could think about a way that conditioning a site plan, and I mean 30,000 feet, this is what's going to be built there, and this is what it's going to look like, without tying to all that other nitty gritty stuff, that it's not a matter of public confidence. That's a matter of certifying and water quality and all of that. So if we could do that sooner rather than later, I think maybe we wouldn't have as many discussions, because if you listen carefully, they're often based on lack of trust. Again, rightfully so. If you could do that, I would really very much appreciate that.
Okay. And I agree. I have 2 comments, I think, in response. One is we need better zones and better standards, because the
Right.
conditions and tying it to the site planner, because our standards are not providing the kind of the development maybe that would, there's just not a lot, there's some lack of clarity in those. And then second, I think you'll be hearing a presentation on the zoning code assessment soon. I think that some of the ideas for that do kind of address what you're talking about, but moving forward with, improvements to a zoning ordinance is something that we'll make a note of, and how can we address that issue as we're moving through it?
Okay,
Because I know
thank
the
you.
site plan issue has been really out there for years, and we've kind of addressed it through robust conditions and trying to improve some zones, but the kind of the what gets built is not always what was communicated to the neighboring residents. I know continues to be an issue. So I'll make a note of that and move forward through updates, try to figure out a solution.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Dr. Burrs. I was counting on you to walk us through that. And I share that sentiment, Karen, because when we're in a rezoning meeting and we're meeting with our constituents and they do see these site plans, and I've been saying this for 5 years, they trust us and they trust the developer that that is what's going to be built. And when that trust erodes, that trust in us erodes. And that's not where we need. That's not how we should serve our constituencies or serve this city. But that being, the comma comes in there. If there is a modification, their road does need to move. Those are things, I don't know if there's a way to codify that within the confines of a stretching out the major modification trigger and allowing flexibility in the engineering as long as you maintain that density level. But I think that visual appearance to the public, I mean, you should get what you paid for and what was sold to you. And that makes sometimes the whole decision. And we're held to it. So that site plan I'm held to, and everyone on this council is held to. And we're the ones who have to answer to that. So I think I appreciate your comments very much. And I think that it's a good best practice for this council to make sure we have site plans. And remember what Chairman said, if we have the right to tie it at the time of zoning. So make sure everyone understands that if that was a critical part of your meeting, then we have the right to tie that site plan to the zone at the final reading. So thanks, Karen. Thank you, Dr. Burrs, for bringing that up. Karen, you want to hit our resolution on our SEP?
It's a permit for a new liquor store at 7703 Lee Highway. This is north of its intersection with Bonnie Oaks. There was an existing liquor store there. I think it's just been closed for a few months. And so this is a new application for that same store.
Okay. And did we cover case number 0184 on the first page under planning? I think it was a deferred item in District 5. Did we cover that?
Peck and Paw?
Yes.
I believe I covered it. It's been, it was deferred. I can't remember if I covered it. I apologize if I didn't. I believe we went through that presentation the last month.
All right. Very good. If I might, can I ask Councilman Hester, do you have anything you'd like to add on that case, since we'll read that tonight, first reading?
There's going to be a lot of opposition to
Try that.
this development. Okay. There's going to be a lot of opposition to that development here tonight. And I think it's exactly what Professor Burrs said, I guess the bait and switch, the trust for the neighborhood, I guess is a bad feel for the neighborhood. So that's something that they didn't quite articulate their what they wanted to do, I guess, 2 months ago. And nothing really changed since the delays. It's been almost 2 months. So I think there's going to be a lot of opposition here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. If I may, I think I saw another light that I may have inadvertently canceled. Was it yours? Will you hit your light, Dr. Burrs?
Yeah, Karen, you just said something that wasn't here. This liquor store, is it the end of Bonnie Oaks?
It is.
Where is it?
It is at the gas station that's at that northwest corner. It's just,
It's right next door, I think.
Okay, so how long has it been out of, it's been closed?
it has been, I talked to Melinda Foster in the city attorney's office about this. And I believe that she had mentioned it had been closed for several months, and that someone else was moving into the property, so it's considered a new application. It was previously,
I'm not sure I want it to happen. That's
Mhm.
Usually what happens is somebody just transfers ownership, but it's been an ongoing enterprise, correct?
So we had some discussion about this to make sure why it's a liquor store and why it's a new application. Because I think the application has been closed out at the state level. The prior owner's application was closed out at the state level. And so this group or entity or person is a new application at this. But I don't have much more detail than that.
Is normally when we do this, it's a transfer of ownership of an ongoing operation. What I'm hearing you say is that originally it was zoned and became, I guess, C2 became a liquor store.
Correct.
All right, and it can only become a liquor store if all this stuff is approved.
Correct.
If it's been closed for several months, then does it necessarily, is it automatically become hey, Emily, I need to know about that because
Mhm.
with all the plans we have and with a Silverdale across the street and all the work they're doing, is this perhaps an opportunity for it not to be an ongoing liquor store?
I would defer to the city attorney, but it's a resolution for a special permit for a liquor store at this location. So I would assume that would be however council chooses to act on it.
You're saying it's brand new, right?
It would be a new one. My understanding, it's a new one going into that site.
So we can deny it, right? It's not like the normal one that it's just an ongoing operation and it got transferred to a cousin.
Right. It's right. A lot of times it's the occupancy. You're seeing occupancy permits or a name change. This is a resolution to establish a liquor store at this location. Apparently the prior one was closed out.
I think we all do.
Thank you. The man is weird.
Okay, let's stop there, Chairman. All right, thank you. Karen, thank you very much. Very efficient. I appreciate it. Any questions or comments from this committee before we have any other business to take care of today, Chairman? No, sir. Then I will adjourn us till 6. That was a lot of fun. Thank you. Karen, you love that, don't you? I mean, no, I heard it. I don't know if she meant for it to come out. What?
Just making sure I didn't read it.
Oh, I heard it. Actually, I didn't even see their face. I just heard it. Whoa. Thank you, Karen.